The alarm sounded throughout the great ship Eternal Harmony. Red lights flashed in every hall. Crew members ran to their posts, their faces tight with fear. Admiral June stood tall on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back. Outside the wide-viewing window, stars shone against the black of space, but June was not looking at the stars. His eyes were fixed on the holographic map in front of him. "Report," he said. His voice was calm, but inside his heart beat fast. Lieutenant Hana's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "The Void Swarm has broken through our outer defenses in Sector 7. 3 more planets have gone dark in the last 6 hours." June nodded, his face not showing the dread he felt inside. The Void Swarm. Just the name made the bravest soldiers shiver. They were not like any enemy the Galactic Alliance had faced before. They were not flesh and blood, but made of something like silicon. They did not think as individuals but shared one mind across millions of bodies. They did not want to talk or trade. They only wanted to consume, and they were winning. "Put the Nuri system on the main screen," June ordered. The hologram changed to show a solar system with 6 planets. The outer 2 were already covered in red marks. Void Swarm territory. The 3rd planet blinked yellow. Under attack. "Our forces at Nuri 3 are calling for backup," Hana said. "The defense fleet is down to 30% strength." Officer Quan looked up from his station. "Admiral, we have no ships to send. The 4th Fleet is engaged at the Bora system, and the 7th Fleet is still repairing after the battle at Yan." June closed his eyes for a moment. Another system about to fall. Another billion lives about to be lost. In the 10,000 years of the Galactic Alliance, there had never been a threat like this. "Send the emergency evacuation order to Nuri 3, he said at last. "Get as many civilians out as possible." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. They were giving up on saving the planet. "Yes, Admiral," Hana said softly. Science Officer Tay approached June's command station. He was carrying a data tablet, and his hands were shaking slightly. "Admiral, may I speak with you privately?" he asked. June nodded and led Tay to the small conference room off the main bridge. When the door closed behind them, Tay placed his tablet on the table. It showed a star map of a region far from Alliance space. "What am I looking at, Tay?" June asked. "A possible solution, sir." Tay's voice was low, as if he was afraid of being heard. "I've been analyzing the Void Swarm's patterns. They adapt to our weapons too quickly. Our energy beams work for a few minutes, then they adjust their shields. Our tactics surprise them once, but never twice." "This isn't news, Tay." "No, sir, but this is." Tay zoomed in on a small solar system at the edge of the map. "This system contains a planet called Earth. It's home to a species we've been watching for centuries but have never contacted." June frowned. "The violent ones? The ones the Council voted to quarantine?" "Yes, sir. Humans." Tay looked up, his eyes bright with a desperate hope. "They're unlike any other species in the galaxy. While we've been at peace for thousands of years, they've spent their history fighting each other. They've developed ways of war that we've never even imagined." "And you think these humans could help us against the swarm?" Tay nodded. "The Void Swarm beats us because it adapts so quickly. But humans, they're the masters of adaptation. They don't just have one way of fighting. They have thousands. When one doesn't work, they try another. They never, ever give up." June turned away, looking out the small window at the stars. The Council would never approve contact with humans. They're too dangerous, too unpredictable. "With respect, Admiral," Tay said, "if we don't try something new, there won't be a Council left to disapprove." Before June could answer, the door opened and Hana rushed in. "Admiral, we've lost contact with Nuri 3, she said, her voice breaking. "The evacuation ships, only 15% got away before the swarm overwhelmed the spaceports." June felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. Another world gone. More lives lost because the Alliance couldn't protect them. "The Council is calling an emergency meeting," Hana continued. "They expect you to attend and present options." "Options," June repeated. The word felt hollow. What options did they have left? Their best ships, their strongest weapons, their cleverest strategies. None had stopped the swarm's advance. He looked down at Tay's tablet, at the small dot representing Earth. How quickly can we reach this human planet, he asked. Tay's eyes widened. You're considering it? I'm considering everything that might save us, June said. How long? With our fastest ship, about 12 days, Tay replied. June nodded slowly. Prepare a briefing about the humans, everything we know, their strengths, their weaknesses, their history. I want to know what we're dealing with before I suggest this to the council. Yes, Admiral, Tay said, already tapping on his tablet. When they returned to the bridge, June ordered a secure channel to the council. As he waited, he watched the holographic display of Alliance space. Red areas showed where the Void Swarm had taken over. There were too many red areas now, and they grew larger every day. 6 hours later, June stood before the full Galactic Council. 50 leaders from 50 worlds, all connected by hologram, all with fear in their eyes. The situation is dire, June told them. At the current rate of advance, the Void Swarm will reach the core worlds in less than 6 months. Elder Wu, head of the council, leaned forward. What do you suggest, Admiral? We have followed all your strategies, committed all our forces. June took a deep breath. What he was about to propose went against centuries of Alliance policy. There is a species, he said slowly, that we have avoided for good reason. They are violent by nature, unpredictable in action, but they possess qualities we need desperately now. They are innovative in ways we are not. They thrive in chaos while we require order. They may see possibilities that we cannot. You speak of humans, Elder Wu said. It wasn't a question. A murmur ran through the council. Some looked shocked, others angry. The quarantine of Earth was established for our safety, a counselor protested. And now our safety requires that we reconsider, June replied. We are losing this war. We need a new approach, new ideas, something the swarm cannot predict or adapt to. And you believe humans can provide this? Elder Wu asked. June stood, straight, and spoke clearly. Yes, I propose we send a diplomatic mission to Earth immediately. We tell them the truth, that we need their help, that without them, our civilization may fall. The council chamber filled with voices, some raised in anger, others in desperate hope. Elder Wu called for silence. This is not a decision to make hastily, he said. With respect, Elder, June replied, haste is all we have left. While we debate, more worlds fall, more people die. He brought up a hologram of the latest battle, Alliance ships firing uselessly at swarm vessels that adapted within minutes to every weapon. Our careful, logical approach is failing, June said. Perhaps it's time to try something illogical, something the swarm won't expect. He looked at each council member in turn. We need humans. Heaven help us, but we do. Elder Wu was quiet, for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Prepare your diplomatic mission, Admiral, he said. Make contact with Earth. But know this. If the humans prove as dangerous as we fear, you will bear the responsibility. I understand, June said, and I accept. As the council session ended, June returned to his ship. He found Tai waiting for him on the bridge. The diplomatic vessel Gentle Whisper is being prepared, Tai said. Captain Sun will command. Good, June replied. Send him everything we know about human customs and language. We cannot afford to offend them. Yes, Admiral. Tai hesitated. Do you think they'll help us? June looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home to the most feared species in the galaxy. A species the Alliance had avoided for centuries. A species they now desperately needed. For all our sakes, he said, I hope so. Captain Sun stood on the bridge of the Gentle Whisper as it moved through hyperspace. His hands were sweaty. In all his years serving the Galactic Alliance, he had never felt such pressure. His mission was simple to explain, but hard to accomplish. Convince the most feared species in the galaxy to help them. Captain, we will exit hyperspace in 5 minutes, said Officer Kyung. Her voice was steady, but Sun could see the tension in her shoulders. Sun nodded. Send the message to all crew. Final preparations for first contact. The gentle whisper was the Alliance's best diplomatic vessel. It was beautiful, with smooth lines and glowing blue engines. It carried no weapons. The Alliance believed that showing up in a peaceful ship was the best way to make friends. Sun was not sure that would work with humans. What do we know about their defenses? He asked. Diplomat Jin looked up from his data screen. Our long-range scans show many orbital platforms around their planet. They appear to be weapon systems. Their technology is less advanced than ours, but there are many of them. Numbers can make up for technology, Military Attaché Day said quietly. Remember the reports about human wars. They keep fighting even when logic says they should surrender. Sun took a deep breath. We follow the plan. We approach slowly. We send our greeting message on all frequencies. We show we come in peace. The ship dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of light. Ahead of them hung a blue and green planet wrapped in swirls of white clouds. Earth. Home of humans. It's beautiful, Jin whispered. Most dangerous things are, Day replied. Sun had barely taken in the view when Kyung called out. Captain, multiple targeting systems have locked onto us. I count 17 different weapons. Stay calm, Sun ordered. Open a channel to broadcast our message. Before he could give the order to begin transmission, a voice came through their speakers. It spoke in perfect Alliance standard language. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Park of Earth Defense Command. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself immediately. The main screen lit up to show a human face. Admiral Park had dark eyes and short black hair. His expression was hard and gave nothing away. Sun stepped forward. I am Captain Sun of the Galactic Alliance diplomatic vessel Gentle Whisper. We come in peace, seeking to speak with Earth's leaders on a matter of great importance. The humans' eyes narrowed. The Galactic Alliance has maintained a policy of non-interference with Earth for over 200 years. Why should we listen now? Sun felt a chill. The humans knew about the Alliance. Somehow they had been watching. Because, Sun said carefully, the threat we face will eventually reach your borders as well. And because we believe your species possesses unique capabilities that may be our only hope of survival. There was a long silence. The human's face showed nothing. You have 1 hour to present your case to the Security Council, Admiral Park finally said. Any aggressive moves and you'll be atomized before you can blink. The screen went dark. Jin let out a breath he had been holding. That went better than expected. Did it? Day asked. They just threatened to destroy us, but they're willing to listen, Sun pointed out. That's all we need. An Earthship came alongside them, small but bristling with what appeared to be weapon systems. It guided them to a large space station orbiting the planet. Sun, Jin, and Day transported over to the station. Human guards met them. The guards wore black uniforms and carried weapons in holders at their sides. Their faces were as hard to read as Admiral Park's had been. The guards led them to a plane room with a long table. 12 humans sat on one side. Some wore uniforms like Admiral Park. Others wore simple dark clothes. You have 1 hour, Admiral, Park said. Explain why we should help the Alliance that has ignored us for centuries. Jin stepped forward. He was the diplomat, trained to explain difficult things clearly. He showed the humans images of the Void Swarm, the planets they had taken, the billions of lives lost. Our best weapons only work for a short time, Jin explained. The swarm adapts too quickly. We have lost 43 systems in the last year alone. A human in a uniform with many badges, General Lee, according to the name displayed before him, leaned forward. Let me understand this correctly, he said. You've avoided contact with humanity because you consider us dangerous and unpredictable, yet now you want our help precisely because of those qualities? Jin looked uncomfortable. Day stepped in. Your capacity for warfare is unmatched, he said. Simply, your history contains conflicts and ways of fighting that our civilization has never thought of. The humans exchanged glances. Sun couldn't tell if they were offended or pleased. "And what does Earth gain from this alliance?" asked a human woman in dark clothes. "Survival," Sun said. "The swarm will reach your space eventually. And if we win, full membership in the Galactic Alliance with all its technology and trade benefits." The room was quiet for a moment. "We've monitored your alliance for decades," Admiral Park said. "We know you have faster-than-light travel, advanced medicine, energy technology beyond our current level. All of this would be shared," Jin confirmed. A different human spoke up. "And if we refuse? Then we will continue to fight alone," Sun said honestly. "And most likely we will lose, and then the swarm will come here anyway," the humans whispered among themselves. "Show us your most recent battle," General Lee requested. Day used his data tablet to project images of the Alliance's last major fight, with the swarm. Ships firing energy weapons that worked for a few minutes then became useless as the swarm adapted. Planets being covered with the silicon-like material of the swarm, all life consumed. The human leaders watched without emotion showing on their faces. Sun found this unsettling. In the Alliance, people would be crying at such images. "We need to discuss this privately," Admiral Park finally said. "Wait outside." The three Alliance representatives waited in a small room for what felt like forever, but was actually only 40 minutes. When they were called back, the human leaders looked different, more focused, more united. "We have made our decision," Admiral Park announced. "Earth will join your fight against this void swarm." Sun felt relief wash over him. "Thank you. The Alliance will be—" Admiral Park held up his hand. "But we have conditions. First, we will do this our way. Your ships, our tactics. Second, we want full access to Alliance technology now, not after the war. Third, we will send our own representatives to your central worlds to learn everything about this enemy." Sun hesitated. These were big demands, but he had been given authority to negotiate. "The first two conditions are acceptable," he said. "For the third, we can allow a small team, but not negotiable," General Lee cut in. "We need to understand what we're fighting. That means direct access." Sun looked at Jin, who gave a small nod. "Very well," Sun agreed. "When can Earth forces be ready to join us?" Admiral Park's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's the interesting thing, Captain. We've been preparing for war since we detected your first battles with the swarm 6 months ago. We have ships ready to launch within the week." Sun was shocked. "You knew? You were preparing even before we came?" "Humans have a saying," General Lee said. "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped the swarm would be defeated by the Alliance. We prepared for the case that it wouldn't be." The human woman spoke up again. "Commander Kim will accompany you back to Alliance space. He will present our battle plan to your leaders." A new human entered the room. He wore a black uniform with gold markings. His face was calm, his eyes sharp and alert. "Commander Kim, at your service," he said with a small bow. "I look forward to working with the Alliance to eliminate this threat." As they prepared to return to their ship, Sun felt both relief and worry. They had secured human help, but something told him that the Alliance had no idea what they had just started. "Captain," Kim said as they walked, "there's something you should know." "Yes, Commander?" "Humans have never encountered a war we couldn't win," Kim said. His voice was not boastful, just matter-of-fact. "We don't intend to start now." The Great Hall of the Alliance Council had never felt so tense. 50 leaders from 50 worlds sat in their curved rows, all eyes fixed on the human standing in the center of the room. Commander Kim wore his black and gold uniform. He stood, straight and tall, his hands at his sides. Admiral June watched from his seat near Elder Wu. This was the moment he had pushed for, yet now he felt a strange worry. The human had been on the Alliance command ship for 3 days. In that time, he had reviewed all their battle data, studied their weapons, and asked hundreds of questions. He had barely slept. Now it was time to hear what the humans proposed. Elder Wu raised his hand for silence. "Commander Kim of Earth, You have studied our war with the Void Swarm. You understand our losses. Please share your thoughts. Kim nodded. Once. He pressed a button on his wrist device and a large hologram appeared above him. It showed Alliance ships in battle with the Swarm. Your approach to fighting the Swarm is fundamentally wrong, Kim said. A murmur of surprise ran through the council. Kim had not used any of the polite phrases that were normal in council meetings. He had just told them they were wrong. Please explain, Elder Wu said, his voice tight. You fight with honor and follow rules of engagement, Kim said. You attack head on. You use the same tactics against all enemies. This works against opponents who think like you do. He pointed at the hologram. The Void Swarm does not think like you do. It adapts. It learns. Then it wins. We are aware of the difficulties, a counselor said. Difficulties? Kim raised an eyebrow. You've lost 43 star systems. Billions of lives. I would call that more than a difficulty. The council room grew even more quiet. No one spoke to the council this way. What do you suggest, Commander? June asked, breaking the silence. Kim's hologram changed to show a new battle plan. Humans excel at asymmetric warfare. We don't try to match an enemy's strength. We find their weaknesses and hit them where they don't expect. He explained his plan. Alliance fleets would attack the Swarm directly, but only as a distraction. Meanwhile, small teams of human special forces would sneak into Swarm-controlled systems. They would use a new weapon, quantum phase disruptors that would cut off the Swarm's hive mind connections. Without their shared mind, they cannot adapt. Quickly, Kim explained. Parts of the Swarm will be cut off from the whole. They will be easier to destroy. These insertion teams, Admiral June said, they would be going behind enemy lines. The danger would be extreme. Kim nodded. Yes, many would not return. You would send your people on missions you know they might not survive? Elder Wu asked, sounding shocked. When the stakes are high enough, yes, Kim replied simply. Humans understand sacrifice. A counselor named Ren stood up. This plan violates our military codes. We do not send soldiers on suicide missions. And how is that working? For you? Kim asked. His voice was not angry, just calm and direct. Your way of war is clean and honorable. The Swarm doesn't care about clean or honorable. It only cares about winning. The Alliance has standards, Ren began. The Alliance is losing, Kim cut in. Standards won't matter if everyone is dead. The room erupted in angry voices. Elder Wu had to call for order several times. When it was quiet again, Admiral June spoke. Commander Kim, how quickly could these human forces be ready? We've already started, Kim said. More shocked murmurs filled the room. Earth began production of the quantum phase disruptors the day after your delegation left our planet. Kim continued. Training operations for the Special Forces teams began the same day. First teams can deploy in 2 weeks. You made this decision before getting our approval, Elder Wu demanded, his voice sharp. Kim looked at him steadily. With respect, Elder, humans don't wait for everyone to agree when facing extinction-level threats. We act. June watched the council's reaction. Most looked offended, some looked afraid, but a few looked impressed. The council needs time to consider this plan, Elder Wu announced. The Swarm won't give you time, Kim said. According to our analysis, you have 2 major systems that will be attacked within the next 10 days. Bora and Yan. June sat forward in surprise. Those were indeed the next likely targets, but the Alliance had not shared this prediction with Kim. How did you know that? He asked. We analyzed the Swarm's movement patterns, Kim replied. They're not random. The Swarm has a strategy. Once we understood it, we could predict their next moves. Elder Wu and June exchanged looks. The Alliance's best analysts had taken months to see patterns in the Swarm's attacks. This human had figured it out in days. Perhaps, June said carefully, we should hear more details of Commander Kim's plan. For the next hour, Kim explained his strategy. It was unlike anything the Alliance had considered. It was bold, risky, and went against their usual ways of fighting. But it might work. When Kim finished, the council hall was quiet. Then Admiral June stood up. "I support this plan," he said firmly. "The Alliance cannot win using our traditional methods. We need to try something new." Elder Wu sighed. "The council will vote. Those in favor of adopting the human strategy, raise your hands." Hands went up one by one. Not all, but more than half. "Enough. The motion passes," Elder Wu announced. "Commander, Kim, the Alliance accepts your plan." Kim nodded. "Thank you. I'll need to speak with your fleet commanders immediately, and I'll need transport ships to bring our forces and equipment from Earth. You'll have everything you need," June promised. As the council meeting ended, many members came to speak with Kim. Some were curious, others still doubtful. June watched from a distance, noting how the human answered each question directly, without trying to make his plan sound better than it was. He spoke of risks openly. He did not promise easy victory. Later, June found Kim in the command center already working with Alliance officers to prepare for the human forces' arrival. "Commander," June said, "may I speak with you?" They walked to a quiet corner. "Your plan was not what the council expected," June said. "But it was what you expected," Kim replied. "It wasn't a question." June nodded slowly. "Yes. I've studied what little we know of human history. Your wars, your tactics. I knew you would not suggest a conventional approach." "War is never conventional for humans," Kim said. "Each conflict is unique. We adapt our tactics to the enemy and the situation." "Like the swarm adapts," June observed. "Yes." Kim almost smiled. "Perhaps that's why you need us. We think more like your enemy than like you." "That's what worries some council members," June admitted. "They fear that once this war is over, humans might become a new threat." Kim was quiet for a moment. "I understand their concern. Humans have a violent history. We've fought countless wars among ourselves, but we've learned from that history." "What have you learned?" June asked. "That there are things worth fighting for, and things worth fighting against." Kim looked directly at June. "The Void Swarm is worth fighting against, and your Alliance, for all its flaws, is worth fighting for." Before June could respond, an alarm sounded. They hurried to the main command platform. "Report," June ordered. Lieutenant Hana looked up from her station. "Admiral, we're receiving an emergency signal from the Bora system. The Void Swarm has arrived, 3 days earlier than expected." Kim moved to the tactical display. "They've changed their pattern. Interesting." "Interesting?" Hana said, sounding shocked. "Millions of people are in danger." "Yes," Kim agreed, his face serious again. "And now we know the swarm can adapt its overall strategy, not just its battle tactics. That's valuable information." He turned to June. "Admiral, we need to move up our timeline. The first human teams need to deploy now, not in 2 weeks." "That's not possible," June said. "Your teams aren't here yet." "No," Kim agreed. "But I am. And I can take a small Alliance team and show them how to do this." June stared at him. "You want to go yourself? Into swarm territory?" "Someone has to be first," Kim said simply. "I need 5 volunteers and your fastest stealth ship." As June looked at the human, he realized something important. Humans didn't just talk about taking risks, they actually took them. "You'll have your volunteers," June said, "and may the stars guide your path." Kim nodded. "We leave in 3 hours, and Admiral, this is just the beginning." Lieutenant G checked her screens for the 5th time. The stealth ship's silent arrow moved through the darkness of space, its engines running quiet. Inside, 5 Alliance soldiers and 1 human prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. "Approaching drop point," G announced. "We'll be in position in 3 minutes." Commander Kim nodded. He was checking his weapons, strange devices the Alliance had never seen before his arrival. Next to him, the Alliance soldiers were doing the same, though their hands moved with less confidence. "Remember," Kim said, "once we're on the ground, we stay together. Move fast, stay quiet. The swarm can sense energy weapons, so we use the physical weapons only." One of the Alliance soldiers, Sergeant Bach, looked doubtful. "How can simple projectile weapons hurt the swarm? Their outer shells are too hard." Kim held up one of the bullets. "These aren't simple. They contain a tiny amount of the same quantum material as our disruptors. They won't kill the swarm, but they'll confuse them long enough for us to move past." G watched the human with a mixture of fear and respect. In the 2 days since the council approved his plan, Kim had trained these 5 volunteers intensely. He pushed them harder than any Alliance commander would dare, yet none had quit. 2 minutes to drop, G reported. "I'm detecting heavy swarm activity on the planet's surface." The planet below them had once been Nuri 3, home to millions of Alliance citizens. Now it was a swarm world, covered with their strange, shiny structures. "Show me the target area," Kim requested. G brought up a map on the main screen. "This is the primary node cluster based on our scans, the highest concentration of swarm communication signals. That's where we place the disruptor," Kim confirmed. "Right in the heart of their network." The ship slowed as it entered the planet's upper atmosphere. It moved without lights, using its stealth technology to avoid detection. 1 minute, Jai said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Heat shields active." Kim stood up and motioned for his team to do the same. They all wore dark suits designed to block their body heat from swarm sensors. "Listen up," Kim said. "This mission is simple but not easy. We go in, plant the disruptor, set the timer, and get out. The Alliance fleet will attack the system in exactly 6 hours. By then, the swarm's hive mind should be fractured in this sector." He looked at each Alliance soldier in turn. "Questions?" "What if we're discovered?" asked Sergeant Bach. "Then we fight," Kim said simply. "And we make sure the disruptor gets placed, whatever the cost." G felt a chill at his words. Alliance commanders never spoke so openly about the possibility of death. 30 seconds, she announced. Kim put on his helmet. "Remember your training. The swarm thinks as one mind. We have the advantage of thinking as individuals. Use that." The drop bay doors opened beneath them. Below was darkness, the night side of the planet. "Good luck," G said. Kim gave her a small smile. "Humans don't believe much in luck, Lieutenant. We believe in skill and determination." With that, he jumped into the darkness. The 5 Alliance soldiers followed, one by one. G closed the bay doors and guided the ship back to a safe distance. Now all she could do was wait and monitor their signals. On the surface, Kim landed with barely a sound. His suit absorbed the impact. He rolled to his feet and quickly scanned the area. The 5 Alliance soldiers landed nearby, less gracefully, but still quietly. They had dropped into a forested area that the swarm had not yet converted. In the distance, the strange, shiny structures of the swarm glistened under the moonlight. Kim activated his comm unit. "Sound off," each soldier responded, with their name. All had made it down safely. "Follow me," Kim ordered. 5-meter spread, watch your step." They moved through the forest toward their target. Kim led the way, his movements quick but careful. The Alliance soldiers tried to copy him. After an hour of walking, they reached the edge of the forest. Before them stretched a wide field covered with the swarm structures. They looked like giant crystals growing from the ground. "There," Kim whispered, pointing to a large, dome-like structure in the center. "That's our target." Sergeant Bach used a scanning device. "Heavy swarm presence, at least 30 units moving around the dome." "We need a distraction," Kim decided. He took something from his pack, a small black device. "This will create a power surge 2 kilometers east. The swarm will detect it and investigate." He activated the device and threw it far to their right. A few minutes later, a bright flash lit up the eastern sky. Almost immediately they saw swarm, units moving toward it. "Now," Kim ordered. They ran across the open ground, keeping low, When they were halfway to the dome, a swarm unit appeared directly in their path. It was like a large insect made of shiny metal, with multiple legs and a smooth head with no features. Without hesitation, Kim fired his weapon. The special bullet hit the swarm unit, and it froze in place, its legs twitching randomly. "It's confused," Kim explained as they ran past. "The quantum material disrupts its connection to the hive mind. It won't last long." They reached the dome and found an opening near the base. Kim went in first, weapon ready. Inside, the dome was filled with crystal-like columns that pulsed with light. Strange sounds filled the air like thousands of whispers all speaking at once. "This is it," Kim said. "The node center. All the swarm's communications in this sector pass through here." He took the quantum phase disruptor from his pack. It was about the size of his hand, a silver box with lights on one side. "Cover me," he told the others. "I need 2 minutes to set this up." The Alliance soldiers formed a circle around Kim, weapons pointed outward. Kim worked quickly, attaching the disruptor to the largest crystal column. "Almost done," he said. Suddenly, Sergeant Bach called out, "Movement! Multiple swarm units entering the dome." 3 swarm units appeared at the entrance, then 5 more, then 10. "They know we're here," Kim said, still working on the disruptor. "Engage." The Alliance soldiers fired their weapons. The special bullets hit the swarm units, causing some to freeze or move erratically. But there were too many. "Fall. Back to position 2, Kim ordered. He had finished setting the disruptor. "Mission complete, now we extract." They fought their way back to the entrance, firing as they moved. One Alliance soldier fell, his leg caught by a swarm unit. Kim turned back, fired 3 shots at the swarm, and pulled the soldier to safety. Outside, more swarm units were coming, from all directions. "The distraction didn't work for long," Sergeant Bach said, his voice tense. "No plan survives contact with the enemy," Kim replied. "That's a human saying. We adapt." He pointed to a narrow gap between 2 swarm structures. "Through there! Run!" They ran, firing behind them as they went. The swarm followed, their metal legs making clicking sounds on the ground. "Lieutenant G," Kim called into his comm unit. "Mission accomplished. The disruptor is in place. We need..." "Extraction," G's voice came back, broken with static. "Understood. Moving to extraction point now. ETA 4 minutes. Another Alliance soldier fell, hit by something the swarm fired. Kim and Bach grabbed him by the arms and kept running. "We're not going to make it to the extraction point," Bach said, breathing hard. Kim looked around quickly. "New plan. See that rise ahead? We'll make our stand there. Lieutenant G can pick us up there just as easily." They reached the small hill and took positions, backs to each other, facing outward. The swarm surrounded them. Hundreds of units now. "Hold. Your fire until they get close," Kim ordered. "Make every shot count." The swarm moved closer, a ring of metal bodies tightening around them. "Why aren't they attacking?" one of the soldiers asked. "They're adapting," Kim said. "Learning from our weapons. Changing their approach." The swarm stopped just out of range, then as if given a signal, they all moved forward at once. "Fire!" Kim shouted. The battle was fierce but short. The special bullets worked, but the swarm kept coming. Soon they were down to their last few shots. "Lieutenant G," Kim called desperately into his comm unit. "Status?" "1 minute out," G replied. "Hold on." The swarm was almost on top of them now. Kim fired his last bullet, then switched to a knife that glowed with a strange blue light. "If they take me," he told the others, "make sure the ship leaves anyway. The mission is what matters." Just then, bright lights appeared above them. The silent arrow descended fast, its underside guns firing at the swarm. The drop bay opened. "Go," Kim yelled. The Alliance soldiers scrambled aboard, carrying their wounded. Kim fought off 2 more swarm units, then jumped for the ship as it began to rise. His hand caught the edge of the bay door. For a moment he hung there, a swarm unit clinging to his leg. Then Sergeant Bach fired his last bullet, hitting the swarm unit. It fell away and they pulled Kim aboard. The bay doors closed and the ship shot upward into the sky. Inside, Kim sat on the floor, breathing hard. His suit was torn in several places. Blood seeped from a cut on his arm. "Is everyone accounted for?" he asked. "Yes," G reported from the pilot's seat. "All team members aboard. 2 wounded but stable." Kim nodded, then smiled. A real smile this time. "Then I'd call this mission a success." "The disruptor is in place?" G asked. "Yes, it will activate in..." Kim checked his watch. 5 hours and 12 minutes. Just in time for the Alliance fleet's attack. The Alliance soldiers looked at each other, then at Kim. "We did it," Sergeant Bach said, sounding surprised. "We actually did it." "This is just the beginning," Kim reminded them. 1 node cluster in 1 systy. 1 year had passed since the first human forces joined the war against the Void Swarm. On a beautiful day with clear blue skies, ships from all Alliance worlds gathered in orbit around Earth. It was a historic moment, the first official meeting of Alliance leaders on human soil. Diplomat Jin walked slowly through a large garden filled with strange and colorful earth plants. Stone paths wound between green areas. In the center of the garden stood a tall monument made of black stone. On it were many names written in both human and Alliance languages. These were the names of those who had died fighting the swarm. Jin paused before the monument, reading some of the names. So many humans were listed there. They had fought with a bravery that still amazed him. "It's quiet here," said a voice behind him. Jin turned to see Admiral June approaching on the path. "Yes," Jin agreed. "A good place to think." They stood together, in silence for a moment, looking at the monument. In the distance, Earth cities sparkled in the sunlight. "The Council has officially made Earth a full member of the Alliance," Jin said at last. "The vote was this morning." June nodded. "Good. Though I hear some Council members still have concerns." "They do," Jin admitted. "They worry about having humans involved in Alliance politics. Humans are different." "Different saved us," June pointed out. He was right. In the year since humans joined the fight, the tide of the war had turned. The swarm still held many systems, but they were no longer advancing. In fact, they had been pushed back from the core worlds. The quantum phase disruptors had worked exactly as Commander Kim had promised. Without their hive mind connection, parts of the swarm were easier to defeat. "I didn't say it was bad," Jin clarified. "Just transformative. The Alliance has existed in relative peace for thousands of years because we all think alike in many ways. Humans don't." As they spoke, a group of human children ran through the garden, laughing and shouting. They were playing some kind of game, chasing each other around the paths. "Look at them," June said, watching the children. "Even their young are different. So much energy, so much life." A small boy stopped running and looked at the 2 Alliance visitors with curious eyes. Then he smiled and waved before running off to join his friends again. "We feared humans for their capacity for violence," June continued. "But we misunderstood where that capacity comes from. It's not that they love fighting, it's that they've been shaped by hardship in ways we haven't." Jin thought about this. The Alliance had enjoyed peace and stability for so long that they had forgotten how to face real threats. Humans, with their history of conflict, had never forgotten. "Do you think the Council fears that humans will take over the Alliance?" Jin asked. June smiled slightly. "Some do, but they misunderstand humans again." "How so?" "Humans don't want to rule the galaxy," June explained. "They just want to survive in it and help others survive too. That's why they fought for us, even though we avoided them for centuries." Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Commander Kim. He wore a formal uniform now, with new badges and symbols. His face was the same as ever, calm, determined, but with a hint of humor in his eyes. "Admiral, Diplomat," Kim greeted them. "The ceremony will begin soon. Your presence is requested." They walked together toward a large building where leaders from all worlds had gathered. As they walked, Jin noticed something interesting. Alliance citizens and humans moved together comfortably now. A year ago, there had been fear and suspicion on both sides. Now there was respect. "Commander," Jin said, I've been meaning to ask you something. Why did Earth agree to help us? After we ignored you for so long, you could have let us face the swarm alone. Kim thought for a moment before answering. There's an old human saying, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend." The swarm threatened all life, not just the Alliance. But it's more than that. What do you mean? June asked. Humans have a long history of fighting each other, Kim explained. But we also have a history of coming together against common threats. We understand something that perhaps the Alliance forgot. Divided we fall, united we stand. They reached the building and entered a grand hall filled with people from many worlds. At the front stood Earth's leaders and the Alliance Council members. Among them was Elder Wu, who now looked at humans with respect rather than fear. The ceremony began with speeches about cooperation and bravery. Awards were given to those who had fought with special courage. Commander Kim received the highest honor the Alliance could give, as did several other humans and Alliance soldiers who had served together. When the formal part was over, people mixed and talked. Jin noticed something he had never seen before. Alliance citizens asking humans for advice and humans listening carefully to Alliance wisdom. They were learning from each other. Later, as the sun began to set, Jin found himself standing on a balcony overlooking the garden with the monument. Sergeant Bach, now Captain Bach, joined him there. Quite a day, Bach said. Jin nodded. A year ago I would never have believed this possible. Neither would I, Bach admitted. I thought the human tactics were too risky, too brutal. What changed your mind? Bach smiled. Fighting alongside them, that first mission with Commander Kim. I learned more about real warfare in those few hours than in all my years of Alliance training. Jin looked at the human cities in the distance, glowing with lights as darkness fell. They are remarkable, aren't they? So adaptable. That's their strength, Bach agreed. Where we see problems, they see puzzles to solve. Where we follow rules, they try new approaches. From inside the building came the sound of music and laughter. Humans and Alliance people were celebrating together. The war isn't over, Jin said. The swarm still holds many systems. True, Bach replied. But for the first time, I believe we will win. Not just survive, but win completely. A small ship flew overhead, its lights blinking in the darkening sky. It was an Earth design, but built with Alliance technology, one of many new ships created through their cooperation. What do you think the future holds, Jin asked. For humans and the Alliance? Bach considered the question. I think we will change each other. We will never be the same Alliance we were before, and humans will never be quite the same either. That good or bad? Good, Bach said firmly. The Alliance was stagnant, set in our ways. Humans bring new ideas, new energy, and I think we offer them something too. What's that? Perspective. Patience. The wisdom that comes from thousands of years of galactic civilization. As night fell completely, stars appeared in the sky. Among them were the distant suns of worlds still under swarm control. But now there was hope. For those worlds too. Commander Kim told me something interesting yesterday, Bach said. He said that on Earth, there's a tradition of naming stars and planets after heroes and gods. What did he mean? The Alliance gave humans star charts of all our worlds. They've been studying them, learning the names of the places they're fighting for. Bach pointed up at the stars. He said it makes the war personal for them. They're not just fighting for abstract principles. They're fighting for places and people they know by name. Jin smiled at this. It was so typically human, making everything personal, connecting with everything emotionally. The most feared species in the galaxy, he mused. And yet, in some ways perhaps the most caring. Together they watched the stars while behind them the celebration of a new alliance, a true alliance, continued long into the night.